Joining us now is Admiral Brett Giroir, Assistant Secretary for Health and President Trump's coronavirus testing coordinator. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, you tweeted today that it's a historic day for our country as Americans begin receiving the first doses of Pfizer's COVID vaccine. As a member of President Trump's coronavirus task force, what's it like for you to see the country reach this moment in the pandemic?
Well, thank you for having me on. The words are really indescribable because we do know we still have a lot of work to do, but this is the beginning of the end of the pandemic. We have a vaccine that's 95% effective. We hope to have a second vaccine very soon that's equally effective, very safe, works across all age groups. So it really is an historic day for our nation and for really humankind.
And most of these first doses will be going to frontline medical workers and then to vulnerable populations in long-term care facilities. We have this Pfizer vaccine and Moderna likely coming soon, but any concern that we could tap out of available doses early this winter and have a gap where most Americans aren't able to get a vaccine for months?
No, that's really not going to happen. We have or will have sufficient doses of vaccine so that all Americans can be vaccinated by June. I think you heard Dr. Slaoui talk about today that we'll have at least 100 million people having been vaccinated by the 100 million doses being delivered by the end of February, and that goes up after that. So we're going to have plenty of vaccine, and that's even assuming that we only have Pfizer and Moderna. But you know, there's a couple of other vaccines right around the corner. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a one-dose vaccine. Again, we don't know the results yet, but there's going to be plenty of vaccine for Americans who need it, and then for the rest of the world.
And of course, there's a long road before much of the country will ultimately get vaccinated, and we're now in one of the most deadly stretches of the pandemic. What concerns you most heading into this holiday season? Do you think that cities and states are going to need to put in more drastic restrictions on businesses and indoor gatherings in order to control the spread in the coming weeks?
Well, you really do point out the duality of the situation. There is great hope and enthusiasm because we have vaccines, but vaccines will not solve this problem over the next few weeks. We really rely on the American people to do the things we've been talking about, to physically distance. It's absolutely vital to wear a mask when you can't physically distance. We're really going to have to avoid indoor crowded spaces, and that's going to mean likely some restrictions on indoor dining and on indoor places. Avoid travel if you can. It's not so much the travel like in an airplane, because airplanes are really quite safe, but it's sort of mixing with a new bubble that you haven't been exposed to. And I'll just emphasize something that we all know now, is that at least half or maybe even more people who have the infection and are infectious can be totally asymptomatic. So you can't predict whether you have it or not. So we have really hard work to do over the holidays. We are in a spike. We're starting to see that lessen, particularly in the states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, around the Midwest, where mitigation has started a few weeks ago. But now we're having problems on both coasts. So we all have to be in this together. The light is at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there, but we have some work to do. And we can save tens of thousands of Americans if we do those things until vaccines can be widely adopted.
Would you say that the White House needs to set a better example here? We've seen the president host multiple holiday gatherings with little social distancing or mask wearing in recent weeks. Do you feel that that makes it hard to convince Americans that they ought to change their holiday plans when the White House is not?
So we're going to give the same advice. Now, I haven't been to those gatherings. I know that on the invitations, masks are required for those gatherings. But look, everybody needs to make a good choice, and we need to avoid indoor crowded spaces and large gatherings. That's just where we are right now. If you're going to be indoors, you know, try to spread out, wear a mask, have ventilation, and the CDC outlines this very well. If you can keep a window open, keep a door open, keep your spaces. So it is better not to have gatherings. If you do have that, particularly among your family, there are ways to be safer, and we just want Americans to make a better choice. If we make a better choice over Christmas, then we're going to be in good shape as more and more vaccines come in the new year.
And then lastly, I want to ask you about the state of COVID testing in the country. You've talked in the past about putting resources into mass production of inexpensive at-home tests that would cost less than $20. Will we ever reach that point where that sort of testing is more widely available so more Americans could easily test themselves at home? And if so, when do you think that that would happen?
Yeah, so this month we'll have about 180 million tests available. Well over 85 million to 90 million are point of care. But as you point out, they're not home tests. And I'm probably on your show a couple days too early, but you're going to see some major breakthroughs in home testing being announced, where these are going to be becoming much more available. This is a result of the great work by RADx at the NIH, by BARDA within HHS, and of course by our group, maximizing the capabilities and scaling them up. So it is really just around the corner that these are going to be out in much more widely accessible in-home use tests. So very exciting new breakthroughs coming.
Yeah, that's very good news. All right, Admiral Brett Giroir from the White House Coronavirus Task Force, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.